All right, let's dive into the world of financial fraud examiners.
Yeah, it's a fascinating field. You're talking about the people who are essentially the financial detectives.
Right.
They're the ones tracking down those financial criminals and, making sure that justice is served.
Exactly. And we're lucky enough to have some really cool resources from RoleCatcher to help us break it all down. They've got
Yeah.
career guides, interview prep, and even, this is wild, they use AI to tailor your prep specifically for these roles.
It is pretty amazing. It
Mhm.
analyzes what the companies are looking for in a financial fraud examiner and helps you craft the perfect answers.
So it's like having a secret weapon
Right,
in
exactly.
your back pocket.
It is.
But let's start with the basics.
Yeah.
What exactly does a financial fraud examiner do? I mean, I think we have some ideas, but
I think the RoleCatcher Career Guide defines it really well.
okay.
They investigate things like those financial statement irregularities, the securities fraud, the kind of complex schemes you see in the movies, and even market abuse.
Yeah.
They're piecing together the puzzle, they're finding the truth.
So it's not just about crunching numbers. It's about it's like real detective work.
Right.
Yeah, you need to be able to connect the dots. You need to be creative. You need to
You need to be able to think like a criminal.
exact.
You have to get in their minds and kind of understand what they're doing and why they're doing it.
And the career guide also talks about the work environment.
Mm.
Like, what can you actually expect day to day? Is it all dimly lit rooms?
It's not all like the movies.
Right.
You'll spend a lot of time analyzing those financial records, but you also might travel, especially if you're working on cases that span multiple locations.
Makes sense.
And you'll interact with a lot of different types of people,
Yeah.
from internal staff to external auditors to lawyers to even law enforcement.
Wow. So it's a real human element to it.
It is, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So that gives us a good sense of what they do and the environment.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the interview itself.
Okay.
RoleCatcher has this really awesome interview guide
Yeah.
packed with sample questions.
Yeah, it's a fantastic resource.
And like we said, that AI can help you
Right.
really tailor your answers to those questions.
It really can. It's like a personalized coach.
Okay. Let's jump into one of these questions.
All right.
I'm looking at one here. How do you handle conflicts of interest during an investigation? That seems like a pretty big deal in this line of work.
It is. They're really trying to assess your judgment,
Right.
your experience in navigating those tricky situations where, maybe you have to make a choice
Right.
between what's best for you and what's the ethical thing to do.
So you can't just say, I'm an ethical person.
No, absolutely not.
You need to have,
You have to provide examples. Think of specific situations where you had to make a tough call. Maybe you had to recuse yourself from a project or report something to a supervisor,
right.
and highlight that, you were putting those ethical considerations first, even when it wasn't easy.
That's a good point. Showing, not telling.
Yes.
And I bet they'd have follow-up questions too.
Oh, they will.
Right. Like to dig a little deeper.
They'll try to push you a little bit.
Yeah.
See how you react under pressure. They might ask, what if you discovered that a close colleague was involved in fraudulent activity?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
So what do you do?
Well, again, you have to go back to those procedures, right?
Yeah.
Talk about how you would follow those procedures
Yeah.
for reporting any type of incident, any type of issue,
Right.
even when it's personally challenging.
So it's having a plan of action
Yes.
and being ready to execute that plan.
Exactly. Demonstrating that you're going to do the right thing, no
Yeah.
matter what.
Okay, let's move on to another question from this RoleCatcher interview guide.
Okay.
How do you identify potential fraud risks within a company?
Right. So this question is all about.
That's a big one.
It is.
Right, because
You're
they're
showcasing your understanding
Yeah.
of how fraud can manifest in different ways.
Right. So it's not just one thing. It's
Yeah.
a
Well-
whole spectrum.
Absolutely. Think about all the different types of fraud.
Yeah.
Asset misappropriation, corruption, financial statement fraud. And then think about the red flags associated with each.
So you need to be able to see those.
You have to be able to see them.
Yeah.
And you almost have to think like a fraudster, right?
Exactly.
Anticipate their moves.
Yeah.
Identify the vulnerabilities that others might not see.
Right. So it's seeing the forest for the trees.
Yes.
Right. And also maybe understanding the psychology of it a little bit.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So your knowledge of psychology and human behavior
Oh, that's interesting.
is really important. You might even mention how you would look for behavioral red flags among employees, or analyze the company culture
Yeah. Well,
to identify areas where those ethical lapses might occur.
it's like you're a detective in a.
It's like a behavioral analyst.
Yeah. Yeah.
Almost.
Okay, so we've talked about those red flags.
Good.
How do you structure your answer, though? You don't want to just start listing things off here.
No, you really want to think about it as presenting a case to a jury, right?
Okay.
Start by outlining your general approach.
Right.
Maybe you use a risk assessment framework. Maybe you have a checklist
Okay.
of those potential fraud indicators.
Got it.
Then you want to give specific examples
Right.
of how you've actually applied those methods in the past.
Yeah.
Maybe you identified a weakness in a company's internal controls,
Okay.
or you noticed a pattern of suspicious transactions.
So it's connecting the dots between the approach
Yes.
and the actual like boots on the ground experience.
Exactly. Showcasing that structured thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is where RoleCatcher's AI
Right.
can come in handy, right? To
Such
help you
a-
fill in those gaps.
Absolutely. It can analyze your past experiences.
Yeah.
Help you pull out those nuggets that are really going to be compelling
Right.
to the interviewer.
Okay, so we've got like 2 really intense questions.
Yeah.
Ready for another one? What about how do you communicate complex financial information to non-financial stakeholders?
Right. So this one is all about...
Because that seems like a crucial skill.
It is.
Right.
Remember, you'll be presenting these findings to people who don't have that deep understanding of accounting or finance.
Right.
They might be executives, board members, lawyers, even jury members. They need to understand, but they don't need all the technical details.
So you have to be a translator almost.
You do. You have to bridge that gap.
Yeah.
And that requires strong communication skills.
Yeah.
Both written and verbal. Being able to explain things simply
Yeah.
avoiding all that jargon.
Yeah.
And knowing how to tailor your communication style.
Right, for different people.
Yes. Knowing when to use visuals, analogies, storytelling.
Oh, it's like you're a teacher almost.
Exactly.
But instead of teaching, algebra.
Right, you're explaining those financial schemes.
Yeah.
And their impact.
Okay, so how do you answer that in an interview, though?
Well, again, you want to back it up.
Right.
With real examples.
Okay.
Think about times when you've had to explain complex information to someone who wasn't a financial expert.
Yeah.
Maybe you had to train new employees or explain your work to your friends and family.
Right.
So you described that situation,
Yeah.
the challenges you faced, the strategies you used.
So you're showing, not telling again.
Yes, exactly.
What about follow-up questions for that one?
Well, they might say something like, how would you handle a situation where a stakeholder is just resistant
Oh, yeah.
to your finding?
Like they just don't believe you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this is where you have to demonstrate persuasion,
Right.
influence, even when you're facing that skepticism.
So it's not just about explaining it clearly.
No.
It's about navigating.
It's about those interpersonal dynamics,
Right.
building that trust.
Yeah.
Even when there's disagreement.
Okay, so that's where those soft skills really come into play.
Right. Your emotional intelligence, your ability to read the room.
Yeah.
You might acknowledge their concerns. You might reframe your message.
Right.
You might provide additional evidence, seek common ground.
Yeah, it's really understanding the other person
Yes.
and where they're coming from.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, so that question really gets to the heart of
It does.
communication.
Yes.
And this is another area where I think RoleCatcher's AI
Absolutely.
can be so helpful.
It can.
Right? Because it can help you kind of practice those scenarios.
It can analyze your style, identify areas for improvement, suggest strategies for crafting a better message.
Yeah, we've tackled 3 pretty tough questions.
Yeah.
I want to touch on something else that the career guide mentions. The different career stages for a financial fraud examiner.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So we've got entry level, junior, and senior.
Right.
I mean, as someone who's potentially entering this field, it's helpful to see
Absolutely.
where you fit in and where you might be headed.
Absolutely.
So tell me, what are the differences between those levels?
Well, an entry-level examiner might be assisting with investigations.
Okay.
Maybe analyzing basic financial statements.
Right. So really getting your feet wet.
Exactly. Learning the ropes. Junior level, you're taking on more responsibility, conducting interviews, working more independently.
Okay, so you're starting to lead a little bit?
Yes, you're getting more ownership of those cases.
Got it.
And then at the senior level, you're leading those investigations.
Okay.
You're mentoring others, and maybe even providing expert testimony in court.
Wow. So you're like the big kahuna
You're the expert, right? You've seen it all. You've done it all.
So there's a clear progression path,
There is.
which is encouraging, right?
Yes.
But obviously each of those stages requires,
Different skills.
yeah, different skills and experience.
Absolutely.
So I'm looking at the career guide here, and it actually provides like example profiles
It does.
for each stage,
It does.
highlighting those typical responsibilities and qualifications.
Right.
So even at the entry level,
Yes.
having a bachelor's degree in accounting,
Or something related.
yeah, is crucial.
Yes.
And I see that, certifications like the Certified Fraud Examiner,
To CFE.
CFE, can give you a real edge.
Yeah, those certifications are really valuable.
Yeah,
They show that you're committed to the profession.
right.
That you've taken those extra steps.
Comes like leveling up in a video game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're gaining those skills, you're gaining that experience,
Yeah.
and there are multiple paths to success.
So,
You might specialize in a specific industry,
Right.
like banking or insurance,
Oh, yeah.
or you might become an expert in a specific type of fraud.
like cybersecurity.
Exactly.
Yeah, healthcare fraud, that kind of thing.
Right. So it's not a one-size-fits-all path.
Yeah.
And RoleCatcher can help you figure that out.
Oh, okay.
The AI can analyze your skills and interests and suggest those personalized paths.
So it's giving you that roadmap.
It is.
Air
It's
path.
guiding you toward
Yeah.
the path that's best for you.
Okay, I'm curious about something else that RoleCatcher emphasizes. And this is about beating the automated recruiter.
Right.
And that sounds a little scary to me.
Yeah, it can be intimidating.
Yeah.
These systems they're becoming more and more common,
Right.
but RoleCatcher can help you understand how they work.
Okay.
So you're not just, throwing your application into the void.
Right. So it's about transparency.
It is. It's about demystifying that process
Yeah.
and showing you how those algorithms work.
Okay, so it's about taking the mystery out.
Yes.
But how does that actually help the job seeker? Like what actions can they take based on that?
Well, one of the coolest things is that the AI can actually identify those skill gaps
Oh, okay.
in your application materials.
Oh, wow.
It compares your resume or your CV to that job description.
Yeah.
And it highlights any areas where you might be lacking.
So it's like a personal skills assessment.
It is, but it's tailored to that specific job.
Yeah.
And then, even better,
Yeah.
it provides suggestions for improvement.
Okay, that's great.
Adding keywords, highlighting projects, even suggesting additional certifications.
So it's like having that coach in your corner,
Exactly.
but it's a digital coach.
It is. It's helping you craft that resume that really stands out.
So you're increasing your chances of getting noticed.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it doesn't stop at the resume, right?
It doesn't.
RoleCatcher can help with.
Cover letters, practice interview responses.
Wow, so it's really like,
It's a comprehensive AI toolkit
yeah,
that's helping you put your best foot forward.
that's incredible.
And it becomes more personalized over time.
Oh, wow.
Because the AI learns from you.
Yeah.
It refines its suggestions.
So it's constantly evolving.
It is. It's constantly learning.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this first part.
We have.
Before we move on to the next part,
Okay.
let's just take a quick recap.
All right.
So we started by, really understanding what a financial fraud examiner does.
Right. That multifaceted role.
Yeah.
Investigating crimes, upholding standards.
We talked about the work environment,
Yeah.
the importance of interpersonal skills.
Absolutely.
Then we went into those nitty-gritty questions.
Yeah. Those tough ones.
The tough questions.
From the guide.
From the RoleCatcher guide.
Yeah.
And I think what's so cool about RoleCatcher's AI
yeah.
is that it helps you.
It gives you that personalized feedback.
Yeah.
It identifies those gaps.
Right.
And it even helps you practice
Yeah.
your responses.
Okay, so in this first part, we've really equipped you with...
We've given you that foundational understanding of the
Yeah.
role and those practical tips
Yeah.
for navigating the interview process.
And in the next part, we're going to continue exploring those critical interview questions.
Yeah, we're going to give you even more insights
Yeah.
and strategies.
Awesome. So stay tuned for part 2.
We'll be right back. Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of financial fraud examiners. Last time, we were talking about the importance of understanding the role and, assessing your skills. And we even started tackling some of those interview questions.
Right. Those questions are really key.
Yeah.
And I think, the more prepared you are,
Absolutely.
the better you're going to do.
Yes. Yeah.
So let's dive back into the RoleCatcher interview guide
Okay.
and see what other gems we can uncover. Okay, so I'm looking at one here that I think is really interesting. It says, How do you ensure confidentiality during an investigation? That seems like a pretty big deal, especially in this line of work.
It is huge. You're dealing with sensitive financial records, potentially uncovering illegal activities. Confidentiality is paramount.
Right, right. So it's not just about, following the rules.
That's
It's
how.
about,
It's about understanding the weight of that responsibility.
yeah.
Protecting that information, not just because it's company policy, but because it's the right thing to do.
So it's about integrity,
Exactly.
not just compliance.
Yes, yes. And a good answer here goes beyond just listing those procedures.
Right.
Mention things like secure communication channels, password protecting files, all of that. But also talk about how you would handle, accidental disclosures.
Oh, right.
Or requests for information from unauthorized individuals.
So it's like you're building a fortress
Yes.
around the information.
What's a great way to put it?
Yeah, and what if they hit you with a follow-up question like, what would you do if you suspected a colleague of breaching confidentiality?
Oh, that's a tough one.
Yeah, because now it's like, you have loyalty to your colleague, but you also have this duty to uphold these standards.
You do. You have to show that you would address that situation head on. You would mention your company's whistleblowing procedures and emphasize that you would report any suspected breaches, no matter how uncomfortable it might feel.
So it's about having that moral compass
It is.
and the courage to act,
Yes, absolutely.
even when it's difficult.
Even when it's hard.
And I bet RoleCatcher's AI could even help you prepare for that kind of ethical dilemma.
Oh, absolutely. It can analyze similar situations from your past and help you craft a response that demonstrates that ethical reasoning.
Wow, it's like having a virtual ethics advisor.
It is.
Okay, let's move on to another question that I think often trips people up. How do you prioritize multiple investigations simultaneously? Because I imagine things can get really hectic in this line of work.
Oh, absolutely. You're juggling multiple cases, all with varying levels of complexity and urgency. It's a real balancing act.
So this question is really about,
Organization.
yeah,
Staying calm under pressure.
right. So it's not just about working fast.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
about,
It's about working smart.
yes, exactly.
So highlight any systems or methodologies you use to stay organized. Maybe
Yeah.
you use project management tools or a prioritization matrix.
Right,
But don't just focus on the tools. Explain your thought process.
right.
How do you evaluate the potential impact of each case? What factors do you consider when making those tough calls?
So you're showing them you can think critically
Yes,
under pressure.
absolutely.
Okay, so it's not just about, like, here are the steps I take.
Yeah.
It's also about, here's how I think about it.
Right. You're showing your analytical skills, your
Yeah.
judgment.
Okay. What about follow-up questions? Like, what might they ask to really test those prioritization skills?
Well, they might say something like, what if you're assigned a new investigation that seems really urgent, but you're already swamped?
Oh, yeah, I've been there.
Right. It's a classic dilemma. So
Yeah.
you have to balance assertiveness and collaboration. You might explain how you would assess the urgency of that new case, communicate your workload to your supervisor, and work together to find a solution.
So it's about being a team player,
Yes,
but also knowing your limits.
absolutely.
Okay, and again, this is where I think RoleCatcher's AI
Can be really helpful.
could be really helpful
It can.
in terms of, like, practicing those conversations.
Yes, giving you feedback on your tone, your clarity, how effective you are.
Okay, let's try one more question.
All right.
How do you adapt to changes in technology or regulations?
Oh, yeah. Hmm.
Because it seems like the world of finance and fraud detection is, like, constantly evolving.
It is. Technology changes so rapidly, so they want to know that you're not just comfortable with the existing tools,
Right.
but that you're actively seeking out that new knowledge.
Right. So it's about being a lifelong learner.
Yes, exactly. So highlight your proactive approach to staying informed. Mention industry publications, conferences you attend, online courses you take.
So it's about showing them that you're not just, sitting back.
No,
You're actively,
you're engaged.
yeah,
Yeah,
you're learning.
engaged with the field.
Yes.
And it's not just about reading those things, right?
No.
It's about applying that knowledge.
Absolutely.
So give an example.
Yes, give a specific example of a time when you had to adapt to a new technology or a regulatory change.
Okay, so you're showing them
You're showing them,
that you can walk the walk.
yes, that you can translate that theory into practice.
Okay, and what about follow-up questions for that one?
Well, they might ask, what emerging technologies in fraud detection are you most excited about?
Oh, that's cool.
Like, it's a chance to really,
Show your passion.
yeah, and your knowledge.
Yes, do your research beforehand.
Right.
Read up on AI, machine learning, blockchain technology.
Yeah, those are all really,
They're changing the game.
yeah.
So think about how those advancements are shaping the future and how you might use them.
So you're thinking ahead.
You are.
You're not just in the moment.
Exactly.
You're thinking about where the field is going.
And this is another area where RoleCatcher can help. It can help you identify those technologies, connect you with resources, help you stay ahead of the curve.
So it's like having a crystal ball almost.
It's like a guide to the future.
Yeah. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground in this section.
We have.
But before we move on to the next part,
Okay.
let's just do another quick recap.
All right.
So we started by talking about confidentiality.
Yes. Protecting information, those ethical standards.
Right, we talked about prioritizing multiple investigations.
Right. Staying organized, managing your time,
And then we talked about adapting to change.
keeping up with technology, those regulations.
And through all of this, RoleCatcher's AI can be a really valuable tool
Absolutely.
to help you prepare.
It can.
So far, I think we've given you a really good understanding of the skills and the qualities and the ethical considerations.
We've laid the groundwork
Yeah.
for success in this field.
So now in the next part, we're going to explore what comes after you've aced that interview.
Right. What happens next?
So stay tuned.
All right, welcome back. We've spent the last two parts really digging into the world of financial fraud examiners.
We have.
Everything from understanding what they do to, tackling those really challenging interview questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Those interview questions can be tough.
Yeah, but now I think we're at the fun part,
Okay.
where we get to think about, okay,
Yeah.
you've aced the interview, you've got the job,
Yeah.
now what?
Yeah.
Like, where do you go from here?
And I think the RoleCatcher Career Guide, talks about
It does.
different paths, specialization.
It's not just one straight line.
Yeah, it's not just one size fits all.
No, it's more like choose your own adventure.
Oh, I like that.
You might start as a generalist,
Okay.
get a broad range of experience, or
Right.
you might find you love a certain industry,
Right.
like banking or insurance or even government.
So you could be investigating like Ponzi schemes, money laundering, healthcare fraud, like all sorts of stuff.
All sorts of things, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It is. It keeps things interesting.
Yeah, and as you gain experience, you might like specialize even further.
Absolutely.
Right.
Some people really love financial statement fraud.
Okay.
They love digging through those numbers, finding the discrepancies.
Oh, it's like being a financial archaeologist.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Others might specialize in cybersecurity.
Right, investigating those data breaches.
Okay.
Ransomware attacks.
So there's like a real tech element
There is,
to this.
yeah, becoming an expert in those forensic accounting software programs.
So it's not just about being like good at math.
No,
It's about being like, a problem solver, a storyteller, a tech wizard.
it's a blend of a lot of different skills.
Okay, I'm looking at the RoleCatcher guide here, and they highlight a few key areas
Okay.
that are in high demand. One that I thought was really interesting is forensic intelligence.
Ooh, yeah, that's a hot area.
What is that?
So it's all about using data analytics and investigative techniques
Okay.
to not just solve crimes,
Right.
but to predict and prevent them.
Oh, wow.
So you're like a financial detective, but also a futurist.
That's really cool. So you're not just reacting, you're kind of...
You're proactive.
Yeah.
You're trying to stay ahead of the criminals.
So you need to understand trends, technology, even psychology.
Yeah, you do. You're building models, identifying patterns.
Wow, it's like a high-stakes game of chess.
It is. You're always thinking a few steps ahead.
Yeah, that's cool. They also talk about fraud detection,
Right.
which I guess is more about, like, the systems and controls.
It's about building those safeguards.
Right.
So you're minimizing the company's vulnerability.
Okay, so it's like a cat and mouse game almost,
It can be.
right, with the criminals.
We're always trying to stay one step ahead.
It's got to be really rewarding,
Oh, it is.
right, knowing that you're preventing that harm.
You're protecting people.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got forensic intelligence and fraud detection. Anything else that stands out?
Yeah, banking activities is becoming increasingly important
Okay.
as, financial transactions become more complex,
Right.
globalized.
Yeah. So you need to be able to Like trace the money.
You do, even when it's crossing borders, multiple currencies, all of that.
That's a real challenge.
It is,
Yeah.
but it's also really exciting.
Right.
You're at the forefront of fighting that financial crime.
So it's a global career.
It is?
Potential.
Yeah, you could be working with international agencies
Wow.
all over the world.
That's cool. Okay, anything else?
Yeah, the intersection of fraud examination and financial statements.
Oh, okay.
That's becoming really important.
So that's like really digging into the...
It's all about the accounting.
Yeah.
Understanding those principles, those practices.
So you need to be like a master of the numbers.
You do.
Yeah.
You're looking for those subtle red flags.
Yeah, so it's like being a detective, but you're looking for accounting clues.
Exactly. You're looking for those inconsistencies, those unusual transactions.
And again, this is where I think RoleCatcher's AI
can be really helpful.
is so helpful.
It can help you explore those specializations.
Yeah.
And it can also help you connect with other people.
Oh, right. Like networking?
Yeah, build your network, find mentors, even find collaborators.
So it's like a built-in support system.
It is. It's a community of people who are passionate about the same things you are.
That's great. Okay, so we've got those different specializations. What about like career progression?
Yeah.
What can you expect?
Well, as we mentioned before, the RoleCatcher Career Guide outlines those three main stages: entry level, junior, and senior.
Right.
And as you gain experience, you naturally move through those stages.
Yeah.
You take on more responsibility, you lead investigations, you mentor others.
So there's a clear path within a company
There is.
or a government agency.
Yeah, but there are other options too.
Oh, okay.
You might specialize in a particular industry.
Right.
You might go into consulting.
Okay.
You might even start your own firm.
Wow. So there's like no limit
There really isn't.
to what you can do.
No, it's a field with a lot of opportunity.
And RoleCatcher can help you figure out
It can.
those options.
Absolutely suggest career paths, highlight opportunities.
So it's like a personalized career navigator.
It is. It's guiding you
Yeah.
toward that path that's right for you.
So RoleCatcher really is like a one-stop shop
Yeah.
for everything
For everything.
related to a career in this field.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So for our listeners, what this all means is a career as a financial fraud examiner. It's not just about getting that job.
No.
It's about embarking on this journey.
It is
learning.
lifelong learning.
Yeah.
Specialize
exactly,
in-
and making a difference.
Absolutely. Protecting people, protecting
Yeah.
businesses.
Yeah.
It's about combining those analytical skills with that passion for justice.
I love that.
Using your knowledge
Yep.
to make the world a better place.
And with tools like RoleCatcher,
Right.
you're well equipped
You are.
to really succeed in this field.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, as we wrap up
Yeah.
this deep dive,
I want to leave you with one final thought.
okay?
As technology continues to evolve,
Yeah.
what skills do you think will be most crucial
Oh,
for the future of fraud examination?
that's a great question to think about.
It is something to ponder.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that this field is always changing.
Right.
Those who can adapt, who are curious, they're the ones who will thrive.
It's about, being open to new things, new ideas.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for joining us on this journey
It's been a pleasure.
into the world of financial fraud examiners.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And we'll see you next time.